Hello everyone, my name is Ronnie Eriksson and this is the New Nordic Wave of Change podcast. Today is a bit different day than normally, so today the podcast is also live streamed to Instagram. So hello to all of you watching there and listening to today's episode. And shortly about the podcast, so the podcast is all about us trying to figure out the different ways how the Nordics are strong, both here in the Nordic region, but also in the world. And what we try to do here is that we actually try to meet with interesting people from both the Nordic region, but then also from the world who have been doing different things with the Nordics or based on the Nordic model. And that way learn more what makes Nordics so special and what allows the new Nordic region to build such a strong basis of different kind of initiatives, companies and concepts. And today we have the amazing privilege to have a guest, someone I admire greatly, a real Nordic change maker, someone who has been taking the Nordics out to the world already for years and years, despite of her young age, a speaker, a moderator, a marketeer, and also the founder of Nordic Collective, Janna Salokangas. Welcome, Janna.
Hey, thank you.
It's a great pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing?
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. I'm very well, thank you. It was a beautiful morning in Porvoo. I woke up early, had a nice coffee, did my morning meditation, and drove here to your beautiful studio. This is actually really nice, so glad to be here.
Nice to have you here. And first thing here maybe is a big shout out. Thank you for Dream for letting us to use this studio. So it's an amazing place here in Konala, and we've been shooting most of these episodes from here. And nice to have you here.
Thank you.
You told shortly about meditation. Is this something that you've been doing for a long time?
I try to do it actually daily. You know, as an entrepreneur, the days gets quite crazy as we go on. I don't do it every day, but I aim to do it every day because that's something that you know keeps me focused and clarified for the day, and it's a good way to start the day actually in a calm way because then I cannot do it at the end of the day. My head is like an exploding situation usually normally.
I know the feeling.
But it's a good start. I try to do that.
Yeah, it's a good way to get the day started. And I think like meditation helps us also like to kind of like empty the mind before all of the great pursuits we have in our days.
Yeah, for sure.
But Janna, I think you're a well-known person, especially here in Finland, but also globally, been doing a lot of things all around the globe and taking the Nordics to the world. So could you shortly tell us a bit who you are, what's your background, and what have you been doing all of these years?
Yeah, sure. My name is Janna Salokangas. I'm an entrepreneur, most of all, and speaker and connector. But most of all, actually, I'm a human. I'm a people person. You know, I love to be around people. I love stories, and I just love to collaborate and do things together. And yes, I founded my company a few years back, but my Nordic story starts from a very early age. I've always been admiring France and the culture, and we traveled there quite a lot with my family when I was younger. And I think I was 7 years old when I decided that I want to move to France, and then I did immediately when I had the opportunity. So after my high school, I moved to Nice and did my studies there. BBA studies in a school called IPAC Business School. And that's how the global journey basically started. And it was a school of 47 nationalities or something, but a super global community, you know. And the thing is always that when you come from Finland, people are super interested about you and your history. And wherever I went and whoever I met, it was always like, oh, wow, you're from Finland. You must be such a hard worker and incredible person. I was like, yeah, I hope so. And yes, and then the same thing happened actually when I onboarded my first job at Amber Lounge. They were also like, okay, we must hire you. You're from Finland. You must be so hardworking. I was like, okay, yes, I think I am. And I was. But it's a funny story how it started because Monaco is obviously close to Nice, and there's this yearly Amber Lounge Fashion Show, which is like a charity fashion show organized every year during the Grand Prix. And you have the Formula One drivers on the catwalk there, and you have the Prince Albert is there, and all these VIPs and royalties from around the world presenting these charities. And I went there to volunteer because I wanted the experience and see how it is. And I was, I think, 19 years old at that stage, so quite young. And one of these models got actually sick or something happened, and all of a sudden they asked me to come and present the charity auction, and I was like, no, my God, I cannot, this is what I'm here to do, I cannot do it. But then bravely, I just went and tried it out and went there to speak with all of these people and presented it. And this is how the people in Amber Lounge remembered me. And I contacted them like, hey, listen, do you remember me? I'm the girl who helped you out and kind of saved your charity auction. So I would like to work for you. And then that's how I started my journey as an intern there, and then got a promotion. And then I started to travel around the world with the founder, Sonia Irvine, and then I was all of a sudden managing all of their partnership activations in Monaco, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, and Mexico City at that stage. So basically, just story how I just fearlessly jumped into a random situation, and then all of these things started to happen. And and then looking backward, it's easier to connect the dots, and yeah.
Well, that's really inspiring. And how was it as a Nordic person to go and study, for example, in France? What was the big differences that you saw there?
Well, it was a super international community in a way, but I was, as they expected, I was a hard worker and super dedicated. And even though I didn't feel, especially, I wasn't a great student in Finland, but when I was abroad, I kind of was. So we are better than we think we are. I think that's a great example of that. And but yeah, dedication and hard work. I think that's the sisu that we just have naturally.
Yeah, sisu is a word I really love. I think when I explain myself to someone, I often say that I'm a happy person with a lot of grit, or sisu as we call it. So
yeah, and it's quite unconscious even when we're here. It's I don't consider that. I didn't realize it, but when I moved abroad, I realized that actually, yeah, I have this freaking sisu inside me.
Where do you think it come from? Is it kind of like these harsh conditions we live in, or what is the a story of the sisu?
That's a good question. The hard and beautiful conditions that we live in. Our education system, it's really systematic, clear rules, regulations. I think it's a good combination of that all.
Yeah, and all this sisu has taken you to do pretty amazing things with many amazing Nordic players. And I think one of the thing that you founded is Nordic Collective. So what is Nordic Collective all about, and how did your journey take you to Nordic Collective?
Yeah, well, it was quite natural because when I was working at Formula One as a partnership manager and I'm traveling around the world, so I quite organically started to host our Nordic companies. And, I was the key accountant manager for our Nordic partners. And then also at that stage, I onboarded some Finnish companies to these Formula One activations. So it was like a thing to do organically, that I wanted to. Now, when I had the opportunity to be here, so I wanted to take all of my friends and Finnish companies and organizations with me. And that's how I started Nordic Collective, basically, and what we do. So I moved back to Finland and we started this company, global brand activation and events company, highlighting Nordic companies globally. And we did our first brand activation in Monaco because it was a good place for me to start. I wanted to use all of my network and the experience that I've had from the F1 journey. So we created this Arctic meetup event in the middle of Monaco. We onboarded Finnish responsible companies there. We built an Arctic lounge in the middle of Formula One. We brought the Finnish electric yachts to Monaco. We used them as tender boats. We had Taiga Chocolate, Tecoil as a partner. And and it was just great feedback and response that we got internationally. And we also wanted to do something special and like a fun Finnish twist there. So, you know, we hosted this event and a front row yacht in Monaco. And once you onboard a yacht, even the ladies, you have to take your shoes off. So we brought Reinos and Ainos to help us out there. So basically, once you came into our Finnish boat, the Arctic boat, it was full of like Arctic blue jean cocktails and reindeer furs and like an Arctic land in the middle of Monaco. And so once you came in, it started that you have to like find your right size shoes and slippers, and people were dancing all night long with the Reinos and Ainos, and we could just see when people were moving to different boats and after parties at the end of the night, you know, we could see like, oh, he onboarded our event earlier because there was somebody, you know, walking with the Reinotossut. So it's just like fun and amazing thing what you know we can do as Finns and also laugh at ourselves. So that's something I want to highlight also internationally, and just do fun stuff with great people.
That sounds amazing. For those of our listeners who don't know what Reinos or Ainos are, could you tell shortly what they are?
Yes, it's this super traditional Finnish slippers, and I think they're all like in fashion again, year after year. So it's like retro slippers, and this is maybe the spot where you put the Reino image there once you edit this session. But yeah, it's I love them.
Yeah, beautiful. We have also a couple pairs at my cottage, and my favorite shoes to use in the summer nights.
Yeah.
This Arctic meetup, it's something like super interesting and an interesting concept, and I think that Finland and especially the Nordics are not maybe taking enough out like the Nordic region or the Nordic partners to these kind of like places to showcase the core strengths of our continent. What was the biggest things that you got out of this, of doing the Arctic meetup? What was kind of like the results of that?
Yeah, well, once you do something, it's always then it starts like snowball effects and something else happened. But first of all, the feedback was great. Everybody's like, oh my God, we love Finland and we love these drinks and we love these slippers and we love your country. So basically, wherever we go, the response is always good. And in this case, it was so good that actually, one of our guests of honor in the Arctic meetup was Princess Märtha Louise from Norway, and she loved the Finnish brands and the concept and the playfulness that we did with the Arctic meetup. So she invited us to explore the opportunities at Davos World Economic Forum, where Finland is not currently strongly presented. So I went there year 2020, just before COVID hit, to do like a pilot trip representing her beautiful foundation called A Piece of Scandinavia. And they invited Finland to come on board and join the movement in Davos. And my colleague Risto Kuulasmaa was also there. And since that, we've been building this movement called Finnish Flow. And that is our next step, that we are going to take Finnish companies to Davos World Economic Forum week, because truly we have some great innovations, companies. We're at the forefront in technology, sustainability, gender equality. And these are these kind of values we want to show. And this is something we can actually inspire from the North. And that is what we want to do to show how amazing we are. Actually, we are not brave enough to do that. We should do that more.
I totally agree with you, because I think like the big problem is that we have these amazing solutions. We always think about kind of like the best of the world, not just only about ourselves. But then we're not that good at marketing. And I think like Peter Westerbacka is often saying this kind of like more of a joke, but that Finland is the best country at marketing, and most of the people often laugh then. But I think like we have all the potential to do that.
Yes.
And I think like you probably have seen that already with like your background and actually like hosting those events and seeing the traction.
Yeah.
So the pandemic hit after the Arctic meetups and all of this, and Finnish Flow came into life. What has actually happened now during the pandemic year? How have you been building towards like the next big thing?
Yeah, we're now currently building. Obviously, I've been doing quite a lot of virtually in the meantime and exploring new ways to connect people. I'm also quite active in Clubhouse actually at the moment, which is a funny story, but it's amazing platform also to connect brands and people. And I've been approached quite a lot inside that platform as well to host different Nordic panels and Nordic teams from like American and international organizations. But obviously, we've been working and building everything for 2022, which seems that like we are able, hopefully, to travel again to Davos. If not, then we're gonna postpone it. But that's the aim. And currently, we're approaching partners. We're selecting our change makers. So basically, one of our most visible activation in Davos will be that we will onboard 8 future change makers, under 35 change makers to represent Finland. And this is also what we want to do in a bit different and a fresh way, you know, to bring these young people, entrepreneurs, founders, leaders, thought leaders to Davos and actually show what we have here. But building, and learning as we go and changing directions whenever we have some new regulations and rules coming on with. But
Yeah. I think like it's amazing that you have looked at the perspective to actually like allow the young people to already go there where Finland or the Nordics are not that much.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like also something I see as the Nordic giving back culture in a sense, where we kind of like try to empower already the youth to be ready for the like big next change or the big next openings that are coming. So with Finnish Flow, what is kind of like the aim when bringing those young people there, and what is kind of like the big gain that the Nordic region or Finland can get out of that?
Yeah, we're gonna measure our success with new business made in Davos, new investments made in Davos and at the trip, and also the PR and media value. So this is like our scorecard, what we're aiming there to do. New business, of course, but then also PR and media value from the Finnish perspective. And so I think that's it. And we really want to show what we have here. And I think the world is ready. Like one good example from Davos, there's this beautiful lounge called the Equality Lounge. And I'm lucky to work with these amazing female founders from around the world. And Sanna Marin and Tarja Halonen and all of these Finnish pioneer leaders were like the top thing in this lounge in Davos. But in the end, I was the only Finn there. And I was like, why aren't we? My God, we should be so proud of this. And the world is so proud of us. So how come we are not represented more in these kind of places and lounges? And this is also like we should go there, and you know, we should really be proud of what we're doing, because we're doing quite great in many sectors.
I think you're really, really correct in that. And why do you think we're not there that much? Is it just because we don't have the courage, or is it because we lack the knowledge, or is it like a Nordic thing or Finnish thing that we haven't like been able to get outside of our borders?
I think it's a combination of all of those aspects, as you said, and also in regards to like Davos and that event especially. So I think it's just like the wrong image also of that is a super elitistic place and I don't belong to that place. It's not true. It's full of young, innovative people, and I think we all should be there. So that just with that specific event. But then also I think we're not brave enough. We don't have time. We might not have the knowledge. And one thing that I found with Nordic Collective, that if somebody makes it like a turnkey solution for you, I've organized this and this and this. You have the right people, you have the right time, you have the great event going on. I'm going to do it all for you. You just have to come on, jump on board. Then it's easy. Then it's hard to say no, you know. Then it's like, okay, I'll join. But if nobody's actually doing this work behind the scenes, so it is quite stressful, and companies doesn't have the resources necessarily to jump into the new markets and go to these new places and events, because it's hard work and you need to know certain people and you need to know how to get into these different platforms but I hope, and I think once it's made easy for you, and that's my aim, that's what I'm here to do, organize all of these behind the scenes and structures and negotiate everything that needs to be negotiated. So yeah, hope that attracts a bit more people.
Yeah. When being in these kind of like negotiations, how do the kind of like Finnish companies or organizations respond to things like this? Do they see the value already, or is this something that needs to be taught?
Yes, definitely they see the value already.
And it's a big problem is kind of like that now there is just not like a model how to take people there or how to do that like in an easy way. And that's what you try to solve.
Yeah.
Really good. And is there going to be some kind of like Arctic lounge or Arctic meetup or similar kinds of events that you have done, like in Monaco, for example, there in Davos?
Yes, we're going to host our own Finnish lounge in there, or actually like a Finnish dinner private event.
Okay.
We have a beautiful location there already, and we're building it at the moment. And I cannot wait when I can announce our partners. We have actually signed some amazing partners already, but we will announce them in August.
Amazing. Congratulations. It's been a good start then.
Thank you.
But getting a bit more into kind of like the Nordics and maybe what the core strengths of the Nordic region are. So in this podcast, we tend to talk about the new Nordic region. So also counting in all of the Baltic countries, because I think like kind of like if you look historically and you look like what we are doing and how we're relating to each other, we're really strong as a family with similar kind of like backgrounds. And there is this fun fact about like that the Nordic region is actually the most dense place with most unicorns per capita. And now that you've been both abroad and here, why do you think we have so many like successful startups in this region?
Because we are born with the opportunities in a way. I feel so grateful that I'm born in this country, because every day I have the opportunity to do something amazing. And we should embrace that. But basically our amazing education, just we are born at this age, we are born with possibilities only.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think there is kind of like socialism and there is capitalism, and then there is something I found out like lately called talentism, and it's a pretty beautiful concept when you think about it. It's kind of like that all the young people, all the children growing up, they have the same kind of like starting base to life. So they have the same opportunities to do whatever with their lives they want. Of course, like it's not like that's strictly true. There are other factors that can affect. But there is still kind of like this basis of allowing that. And then the other part that I think that we have really strong is the Nordic values, something you're also talking a lot about. How have you seen kind of like these Nordic values work when being outside of the Nordic region? For example, in Monaco, is there like the Nordic values which have the strengths in them to kind of like drive the change and drive the doing onward there from a Nordic perspective?
Yeah. I think the key values, well, sustainability, obviously, we're at the forefront in that. Gender equality and leadership, all in all, and our ways to lead organizations. Also technology, we're at the forefront of that as well, and also our kind of like this happiness twist. Not to mention education, but then also this happiness twist and our own approach to certain things. So I think these are the main values that we should and we can inspire from the North.
Exactly. And we are actually like once again, Finland was voted as the happiest country in the world. Congratulations to us. Why do you think it is so? What do you think like makes like Finland and the Nordics the happiest continent in the world?
Again, I would highlight our education system and all of the possibilities that we are born with, but also the nature, and the beauty and the rawness of this country. I think we are just like quite grateful and happy people, that we are born to this beautiful place. And
it's like a place with all of the opportunities at once.
And also like a place of calm and place of nature. And we are quite grounded, in context to that nature as well. And
exactly,
we're super lucky in that way.
Yeah, and I think it's like the feeling when you wake up in the morning and you take your cup of coffee and you maybe go on your balcony or your backyard and you kind of like breathe that air and there is this kind of like a smell of spring. That is something that actually gives you energy, because then the dark times are finally over and we're able to kind of like move into days full of energy and doing.
Yeah. That's actually the thing I've missed the most when I was living abroad, the fresh air. There's just something so special with the Finnish air, And you don't get that in France or in Singapore or somewhere where it's super humid and warm and beautiful, of course, but it's different here.
Yeah. And You've been doing a lot of stuff with the Nordic scope. What does the future look like if you don't look at the kind of like Davos chapter and that? What else is going to happen, for example, on the Nordic Collective side or with the Nordic doings that you're involved in?
Yeah, we are working with great big Nordic partnerships actually with a few different sports at the moment. So I'm helping to negotiate that. And I think we should also be involved in different sports and sporting events. Mm-hmm. And obviously I want to connect Nordic brands and companies. And whenever the world opens, I want to organize a new Arctic meetup in Monaco together with Amber Lounge. And so that's the plan. I want to keep it going. The response was great. And we have partners who's returning and coming back. And actually, there's a need for this. So that's a sign for me that I will make it happen again.
Yeah. And it's like amazing to see how you're pushing this like Nordic wave of change in a sense.
Yeah.
Like taking and telling those stories outside. And it's like interesting when you look at, for example, Monaco. It's a like really niche and special place. I also many times have thought about traveling there, but I actually never went because of the kind of like lack of network. How have you found that the Nordic networks like globally work? Is it easy to find like in Monaco, for example, Swedes or Norwegian people, Danish people? Are there more of those than Finnish people, or is it like a lack of all the Nordic nations?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was quite easy to find Finns in France and Monaco. We have this kind of like, I've never been a Finn that when I go abroad that I want to hang out, especially with the Finnish gang. You know, I always try to find international people and friends to hang out with. But obviously there's a lot of these Finnish and Nordic communities and and Swedes, Norwegians. Yeah, but the one thing that I've found that whenever I've organized events for the Finnish companies or bringing the Nordic companies together, so actually Sweden and Norway and Denmark, they're with open arms like, hey, let's collaborate. This is so cool what you're doing. Should we do something together? So it's not like this is mine, this is yours. It's more about how could we collaborate together? And, you know, together we can be seen and heard and together we are so much more bigger if we go together as the Nordics. This is kind of like the situation if you were younger and you got an invite to a party. Did you go alone or did you invite all of your friends with you? So I'm the one who invited all of my friends with me to make the most out of it. And I think we should do it together as a Nordic to make the most out of it and just go together.
Yeah, that's a really good point. If you think about it, like when you go somewhere abroad and you try to sell something as Finnish, some people might not even know about Finland, and those who know, they kind of like see only like the small scope of the kind of like limited borders that we have around it. But then when you talk about the Nordic scope, it's suddenly like 27 million big with 26 unicorn companies and like these amazing growth stories that we have collaboratively been able to do. So what do you think are the biggest differences, for example, when doing something from Finland and doing something from the Nordics? Is there something like that puts really Finland aside of the other Nordic countries?
No, Nordic is such a trendy word as well. We were talking before this session, we were talking with you also why my company's name is Nordic Collective and not Finnish Collective, because at the moment I'm working with Finnish organizations mostly. Of course, I'm working together with the Nordics, but then I explained you that it's the fact also that I see that we should work together on these different initiatives, and that's how we become more powerful once we are together. Obviously, all of the countries has their own strengths and weaknesses, but yeah, we should just work together.
And then the big question probably is, and I think this is what many people are for the moment trying to solve, is that how could we work better together? And how could we bring the Nordics that we call so like connected and so close to each other, actually close to each other?
Yeah.
Do you have like what would be your kind of like take on how to make that happen?
That is a very good question. I think it's more like open communication, trust and truth, and basically be open about like, hey, this is our situation, this is something what we would need, could you help us with that, we could help you with this, just like honest communication, and then also serving the other countries, like, because we have something we could offer, and somebody else has something they could offer us. So trust, truth, and service, it goes both ways.
Exactly. This is something we have also tried like to do with the Norders, and why there is kind of like this Norders community now growing up, and why there has been these Nordic Day events and such, is to kind of like allow a place for people first here in the Nordic region to come together. And then I'm looking extremely forward that what we can do, for example, together with Nordic Collective, to actually take those people then outside of these borders and showcase like how strong we are together to the world.
Yes, I would love to do it. We should organize something.
Yeah, it will be so fun.
Something.
And people tend to talk about something called the Nordic model, and it's kind of like this model, the welfare model that we have here, but it's also a model that kind of like brings these three pillars of an innovation ecosystem together, where we have kind of like the academia, the government, and then the companies working pretty closely together. And there has been a lot of discussions about it, that as this model is working here, could it actually be cloned and used in other places around the world? With your experience from France and Monaco and other places, can you see parts of kind of like this Nordic model and doing in those countries? And do you think that we could actually take parts of it there, and it could make things better and make things more like open and prosperous for people?
Yeah, I definitely think, and as I said earlier, the world is ready for that. The first problem is that world doesn't necessarily know about it yet. So we are kind of lacking in the promotion of our Nordic models, and actually how efficient and good that triangle is that you explained. So I think that's the first step, just to get the message out and actually tell what we are doing differently, how and why does that matter. And I think the next step is, yes, for sure, it could be cloned, and it could work internationally.
It's really interesting. This is because we've been working last year, as you know, a lot with the Ambitious Africa initiative.
Yeah, it's a beautiful initiative.
Thank you so much. But the whole scope has been there to kind of like trying to bridge the Nordic young people with African young people. And then kind of like from the African youth, we have got the message that there is a lot like things that would need to change within the system. And this kind of takes us back to the Nordics, because in the Nordics, one thing that I've found extremely beautiful is this lack of hierarchy. So it's kind of like here you can actually pick up the phone and call a minister, and the minister will probably answer. How much different is it in Monaco, for example? Is it only connections that get you to people, or are you actually able to kind of like come to people there and start discussions on an easier basis?
It's a good question. I think my journey was a bit different in a way, because I was working in an international multi-organization, and I was super young when I started, and I connected really well with the owner of the company, and that's like, she believed in me despite my young age. But I don't think that's the case in all of the organizations, and especially when you have the hierarchy, which we don't have here. But it's great to be a young person in the Nordics and in Finland, because basically I have the same feeling, we can do whatever, and then it's true, but it's also a mindset. Not everybody has this kind of mindset, and I think it's also quite like a people business, that I can do it also in France, I can do it in Davos, I can do it wherever in Singapore, if I have the Nordic mindset and I'm carrying it with me. So I can do it internationally as well. And that's how I opened my doors and made all of my connections, despite my age, despite my gender, despite anything, how I look, or, it's just like how I was and how I believed in myself.
Now we come to actually one of my favorite subjects, so the Nordic mindset. I think this is something that I have had the privilege to grow up with. It has been some way or at some place fostered in me without even like kind of like seeing that before I learned about it. How would you describe the Nordic mindset?
It's again something in our age that we are born with the opportunities. So it's basically, I think the Nordic mindset is something where all the future only holds possibilities if we are willing to choose so. And it's like a brave and open mindset, but also super hard work, determination, sisu. And I think it's a good combination of all of those different things.
And you as a courageous person, I think like we who are bit of more extrovert persons, it's easy to kind of like use the Nordic mindset to our benefit, because kind of like that allows us then to like run a bit faster or jump a bit longer or jump a bit higher and so on and so forth. So how could we foster and enhance even more the Nordic mindset and teach about it to people? Because I think like people don't even realize here in the Nordic region that we have something called the Nordic mindset.
Yeah. It's a good point. I think we should, like, how about if we should teach that in schools? And I love this, like, the school of happiness idea that Finland had as well, to teach these Finnish values and actually, you know, explain. And I think we're not educated enough of the fact, like, how lucky we are in and how good we are in these different sections as well. So we should definitely educate ourselves and all of the young next generations about the fact, and we should teach that in school.
Yeah, that would be
a great subject, like psychology and something in between, like the Finnish mindset and how to make it matter and explore, the globe.
Yeah, and it actually like it reminds me a lot, because if you think about like, for example, Buddhism or any of these cultures where you kind of like teach from the start people to like listen to themselves and learn about themselves, who they actually are. And I think like in the Nordics, like that's also a part of like, who are we? Where do we actually come from? Where does our skills come from? Which is pretty unique perspective to think about it, so that you could actually kind of like, if you would be taught soon enough, you could actually like understand why you work in the way that you work.
Yeah.
You were thrown out to the world at a pretty young age to do different things. How did you find like support around you? Did you get a lot of support from the Nordic region, or was it most of those people who took you into their arms abroad?
Definitely, I got a lot of support of my like Finnish community and my Finnish family in France. And also, yes, of course, I remembered when I decided that I'm gonna move. I think I was 17 or 18, and then I moved alone to France and started my journey and started to learn the language, and it was all very new and difficult also at some stages. But I think the message was that everybody was like, "Wow, that's great. That's good for you." And obviously my parents were a bit like, "Oh my God, she's leaving. She's so young, and what's gonna happen?" But everybody just said that's great. If a young person wants to go globally and study globally and move abroad, just go and just make the most out of it. I think that's what I encourage everyone to do as well. Just like live abroad, go abroad, and you can always return. And this is the best place to return after all. And then also one funny fact, when I moved back from Singapore and Monaco to Helsinki, people were like, "Oh my God, how can you move back? Like, why are you moving back after all of these amazing experiences?" And I'm like, I consider that Finland is at the moment the best place for me to live and stay. And I wanted to move back because of, also family and the safety and all of the possibilities. But also, I'm not stuck in Finland. I was like, what is this mindset? I can have my base in Finland. I can live in Finland, but I can be a global citizen. I can travel around the world. I can still live my international life and do my international things. It's not that I'm stuck in a small country somewhere in Finland. Yeah. It's we're part of the whole globe,
Exactly. I think it's often gets so that like the Nordics or Finland are kind of like this.
We're somewhere there,
small place tucked away far in the north, but that's actually a really interesting point, because I don't think like people don't see the Nordics or especially Finland as kind of like this hub to kind of like come to and work from. So if you look at startup economy, like most of the companies, they go to the valley or they go somewhere to one of these like kind of prospering startup hubs, now probably Israel as well, to kind of like work from and to build their careers. But why do you think that people are not coming to Finland with their startups? As we have the happiest country, we have clean air, we have actually a lot of investors here. There's everything you need.
Well, there's a shift. So I think now we are building the whole infrastructure, and it will happen for sure. Helsinki as a city is developing so fast, and it's a great place. Also, we have the investors, and we have leading tech companies, and we have all of these opportunities. So I think it's just a matter of time as well, and also promotion. So like we should be more proud of that and promote that Finland can actually be the next Silicon Valley. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Why not? And I think Slush was also a really good start of that.
Slush is amazing,
Now,
yes.
The pandemic, unfortunately, has stopped a bit of that, but hopefully they will be back bigger and better than ever really soon.
For sure they will.
So now that you mentioned that there is a lot of distraction here in the kind of like Helsinki region, a lot of growth happening, how do you think like the Nordic region and especially Helsinki will look in maybe 5 or 10 years?
I hope now, obviously, COVID hit heavily. But I get this like international vibe already. Okay, this was prior COVID now. So I hope that all of the restaurants and these amazing culture hubs and co-working spaces and regions will stay. But I definitely get an international vibe here already with restaurants, a lot of co-working spaces, a lot of international people actually in these different hubs and remote working. And I don't know how you feel about Helsinki as a city, but
I think it's lighting up. Like I was walking in the shopping center Tripla, this new shopping center in Pasila, and I was just starting to look around, and I also got this like really international feeling because the people there are not only kind of like Finnish people anymore. You see all of these different culture. You see like different kind of backgrounds coming there. A lot of people moving front and back, and I think like this kind of like made me feel that maybe Helsinki is one day going to be this metropole city that actually have a lot of traction, and maybe the Talent tunnel will like change that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the tunnel project?
Yeah, it's going. I don't know. I haven't been reading about that recently. So what's the current situation now with it? But obviously, it's amazing how we can connect the countries together and
tie kind of like the Bay Area together in a like suddenly many hours turns into like 30 minutes, and I think that's the kind of like real essence of how to actually connect the Nordic countries and new Nordic countries.
It is. It makes us really like together, and it makes us even bigger if you think that we are a part of Tallinn as well, and also like all of these opportunities how to move on here. So it makes Finland bigger.
Exactly. So I think like the Nordics, they have a lot great in them, and what we have already been able to kind of like cover here is that the Nordic brand works even when looking on a global scale. But what do you think are the biggest challenges of the Nordic region? What are kind of like the things like that we need to fix so that everything stays as good as it is or becomes better?
One thing I want to answer before that was the fact that you said that I've been pushing these Nordic countries globally. And actually, I have to take back that because I didn't have to push anything. It was more like we have these amazing organizations, we have these amazing stories, we have all of these amazing processes, and I was just basically the one who made it happen for all of these great stories to come together. So there's no this kind of push needed, and also to answer this question. So the challenge is obviously that we are. In the end, we are a small country, so we need to collaborate and we need to be together. We need to show what we have here. We need to be, in the globe.
Exactly. Perfect. So I think all of these kind of like showcases that also we young people, we have a voice, and we can also make like great things happen if we just like put our mind into it. So what would be your best tips to 20-year-old from the Nordics who is now making their career decisions and trying to build maybe a global career? What steps should they take to kind of like be successful and use the best parts of the Nordics to their benefit?
Yeah. Be brave, be out there, connect. And today it's so like, even in today's world, it's so easy. You have all of these amazing platforms and social media, and look at what you're doing with Ambitious Africa, connecting the globe virtually and educating virtually. So in a way, yes, go and travel and go abroad to study. But then again, this is all brought to you now via different applications and via the internet. So I think it's more about be out there, ask for help, ask for what you want, ask for that connection. Be clear about what you want and what you want to achieve, and then just ask for it, because you will be surprised how many people are willing to help you.
This takes us like really strongly to Finland, because like this like motion of asking, I think like what you're saying there has a lot of truth in it, because I have got surprised how many people are actually interested and say yes when you ask for something, even though it would be totally crazy. Yeah. People are actually open for these ideas. And I think like also this is in a sense a Nordic thing, because we have a kind of like the room to be more open for the crazier ideas, because there is kind of like this safety of even though it fails, like life doesn't fail. And this takes us to one of the last points of today's discussion, which is that I think there is something called kind of like this safety net, Nordic safety net, which we have across the different Nordic countries. Have that like safety net help you in taking those risks of doing things that you didn't know anything about, that you always knew that you could have some place to fall to if everything goes south?
Yeah, for sure, even like unconsciously, but for sure, because like if you think, what is the worst thing that could happen? Now I'm traveling here, I'm doing this big production or big events or something. What's the worst thing? Then I can always go back to Finland and start all over. And so for sure that is unconsciously something that is helping you, and also with like the government support here and everything. It is a super safe place to try new things and explore, and super safe place to live, and it's a good place to be an entrepreneur as well.
Really good. Yeah, and I think like the study time is one of the best times for people to actually try entrepreneurship, because it's not just about building those really successful high growth companies, but it's actually about learning what business is all about, all these different niches. You have the marketings and you have the financial parts and the accounting parts, and there's no way better to see all of those than in actually like building your own company and setting up those stepping stones.
Yeah, and you just have to start. Like, it was a complete accident how I started as an entrepreneur as well, because I was asked to be a part of this one organization and I jumped in, and I'm so glad I did. And I kind of like felt safe, like, okay, Finland is the place where I actually want to set my first company and start my own business. It felt so we have this safety net, and I had this feeling like, okay, this is the place where I'm going to try this out, and I'm still doing it. But if I would have known in that situation how hard it would be and what would happen, and so I don't know if I would be any more brave enough to do so. But I'm so glad I did back then. So, and I embrace everybody, just like try it and go for it, because like in the end, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah, maybe that you lose it all, but you have learned a lot. And I think like people forget about that. Everything is about learning.
Life is about learning all the time, and constantly I'm trying to put myself in situations where I learn more. And there's always this gap in where you are and where you want to be. And like when you're here, you want to be there. And it's like it's never ending. So it's just like you have to just enjoy the ride and learn as we go. And also trust the journey in a way.
Exactly, and trust yourself. And I think like this motion of learning by doing, I think that's also kind of like have evolved into a Nordic thing. And I everything I read about you and everything I've heard about you, I've seen that it's always this learning by doing. So you take something that you were not that sure about, and then you make it work, and you learn on the way.
Yeah.
And I think this podcast is also all about that. It's like coming together, sitting here together, and then starting to learn like what the Nordics are actually about. Where do we have the challenges? What have we have opportunities? And then maybe 2 seasons onward, we're actually able to sit here to discuss what the solutions for those things are.
Yes.
And it's immensely interesting.
It all starts with urgent action, and it will take you like always somewhere. And it's amazing what you're doing with this podcast, and you are constantly doing all of these amazing things, and trying things out. This is my first time in a podcast as well, so it's new for me. And I was like, I don't know but I was like, okay, whatever, I'll try. What's the worst thing that can happen? And now I'm sitting here with you having a great conversation. So I'm grateful that I tried it out.
And I'm grateful to have you here because it's been just amazing to go through all of these different things. Now the pandemic is still booming. It's a lot of happening, and it's like kind of like forcing us to do other stuff that we normally do. Where can people find you, or what are the activities that are going to happen now during the last months of the pandemic as we have a full lockdown?
Yeah, I am currently working quite a lot with virtual events and a few bigger virtual productions. I'm also, as a new thing, working quite a lot in Clubhouse, actually, which is super fun. It's a new social media platform connecting people. And for me, Clubhouse is like an airport lounge. I feel that you never know who you're going to meet or what will happen. And there's like, you can meet anybody and connect with people. So it's like this real-time interactive podcast. And I've been honored to host amazing sessions there as well. So I'm partly moderating and talking there. Organizing some virtual events, and then also we're preparing for the Davos World Economic Forum 2022. On top of that, Nordic Collective is actually organizing hospitality arrangements in the Nordic section, and that's also something that I can help with. So I have quite a lot of international clients. I'm not only taking the Nordics to the global market, but also I have some international clients who are constantly looking for places to be in the Nordics. So I'm organizing different summits and special arrangements and 5-star holidays here in Lapland and Iceland and Helsinki as well. So for all of the international audience, if there's anything I can help you with in Finland to organize or manage, so please be in touch. It's such a beautiful place, and everybody should experience our nature.
Amazing. And if people want to learn more about this Clubhouse thing, Norders is doing every Friday from this onward. I think it's a Friday breakfast club on Clubhouse, and you're going to be the guest there soon. Super excited about that. So if any one of the listeners now in the live stream wants to join us next Friday, we'll have a Clubhouse breakfast club, and those who are now listening to the podcast afterwards, every Friday will be the same. So join which Friday you want.
Yes, perfect. That's fun. And like nobody knows what will happen with Clubhouse, the boom and the application. But one thing is for sure that audio is here to stay, whether it's a podcast or the Clubhouse application. And Clubhouse is different in a way because it's interactive podcast. And there's quite like sound is quite powerful, and audio only is quite powerful, even though you don't have the video or the facial expressions. But there's something you can really connect with people audio only. So I'm fascinated about the platform, and I've met amazing people globally. And feels like traveling again, with meeting people from around the world just in Clubhouse. But
yeah, I feel left outside. I have an Android phone. I haven't even got to try it yet.
No.
But we'll see soon. Soon maybe they do the version there as well.
They will for sure. I think it's like 4 weeks or something they mentioned now. But,
Oh, that's beautiful. So maybe the last thing is that if people want to follow your journey, they want to know what is happening in the life of Janna, how can they follow you? Where do they find you?
They will find me on Instagram, where I'm posting some of my business things and daily lives, but also Nordic-collective.com is where we keep updated of our upcoming activations and what we're doing currently. And LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me, and I'm glad to connect with everybody, and especially for like young people, if there's anything I can help or inspire or something. So I'm super glad to connect with everybody.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Janna. It was like a great pleasure to discuss with you. I think we covered a lot of like ground with different Nordic things, and it's just been a great pleasure to hear what all of things you have been doing and how you've been able to do so much despite of your young age, or because of your young age.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But there was a long time, but I actually felt like, oh, I'm too young, I cannot do this, and I felt kind of like. It was this unconscious bias that I built inside myself, and then this is thought. But then it's not true. We can do quite a lot despite our young age, and we should embrace that more than be afraid and ashamed of that. Because there was time when I was actually always telling that I was older than I actually was, but now I'm fine with my young age.
Oh, really nice. I think it's a strength more than it's like holding us back when we realize it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you would like to say to any of our listeners here in the end? Any updates you want to share, or anything on your mind?
No, basically, thank you for this session, and it was. I'm super glad to be here. It was a great conversation, and it's just amazing what you are doing with the Norders. I'm following the journey also with what you're doing with Ambitious Africa. You are a true connector and a Nordic leader, and it's great to follow your story. And if there's anything I can help you with, or if there's anything we can do together with Nordic Collective, so it's all about collaboration, and as well of all of our listeners here on board. So please connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's work together. Let's make it matter.
Yeah, thank you so much. So humbling words. I'm always happy to see that there are people who want to collaborate, and I think we have some cool things already cooking up together. So
yes,
for all the listeners, stay tuned. There is a lot of fun stuff coming soon. And my name is Ronnie Eriksson. I was the host of today's podcast, and as the guest we had the amazing Janna Salokangas. Thank you so much, Janna.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.